Brent Venables' story at Clemson is not one that can be told simply through wins, statistics, or the long list of players who passed through his defensive system and left with NFL futures. His story is woven into the very soul of what Clemson football grew to become during its golden era, an era defined not by flashy ego or superficial bravado, but by a standard of intensity, trust, and technical discipline that made Clemson's rise to national dominance feel almost inevitable. When he arrived in 2012, Clemson was already rising, already dreaming big, already pushing its way back into national relevance. But it was Venables who helped convert those dreams into a hardened identity, a defensive backbone that would set Clemson apart from every other program in the country. His presence did not merely elevate Clemson, it reshaped Clemson. It made Clemson feared. From the moment he stepped into the facility, you could sense that the program was entering a new phase. His voice, calm but firm, demanding but caring, carried a tone that players immediately recognized as authentic. He was a coach who could yell, yes, and he could push players beyond what they believed possible. But he also carried a level of integrity that made his demands feel worthwhile. Every practice rep mattered. Every alignment mattered. Every pursuit angle was corrected. Every mental mistake revisited. Every lack of effort met with a standard that simply did not waver. And because the standard never wavered, the culture never cracked. Defensive excellence became an expectation, an identity, a way of living for every young man who stepped onto that Clemson practice field. Venables' impact was not simply strategic, though his schemes, his versatility, and his anticipation set him apart, but emotional. Clemson had always prided itself on family-driven culture under Dabo Swinney, but Venables added an intensity within that family dynamic. He wasn't just developing players. He was developing leaders who bought into the idea that greatness is achieved through relentless detail. He refused shortcuts. He refused complacency. And because he refused those things, Clemson's ceiling exploded. Players who had potential became stars under his watch. Stars became legends. Many became champions. His defenses did not just perform well. They punished, they tormented, they suffocated opposing offenses in ways that felt almost artful. He built chaos, organized chaos, controlled chaos, disciplined chaos, but chaos nonetheless. And Clemson used it to break the will of even the most confident opponents. The sight of Venables on the sideline wearing his iconic play call sheet vest, crouching, clapping, pacing, barking reminders, adjusting alignments, rarely standing still, it became a staple image of Clemson football's identity. It symbolized an intensity that never dimmed. But to truly understand his time at Clemson, you must understand what his players saw behind the curtain. There was the coach the world saw, animated, fired up, fierce. And then there was the man they saw privately, thoughtful, present, deeply invested in their personal lives, their families, their priorities beyond football. Players knew he loved them enough to push them, and pushed them because he believed in them. There are countless stories of Venables staying long after practice ends, reviewing film with players who wanted more. There are stories of him pulling players aside not to correct their technique, but to ask how they were really doing, to ensure they were grounded emotionally and academically, to make sure Clemson wasn't just creating athletes, it was creating men. The results of his work are imprinted across an entire decade of Clemson dominance. Between 2015 and 2020, Clemson became one of the most consistent defensive programs in America, and Venables stood at the center of it. Even when talent fluctuated or youth filled the depth chart, the standard never dipped. When Clemson's offense was loaded with future stars like Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, Venables' defenses ensured those teams were complete. And when the game demanded a defensive masterpiece, he delivered. The 2016 national title run required discipline and resilience, and Venables crafted game plans that produced both. The 2018 run was even more dominant, featuring a defensive line that will long remain one of the greatest in college football history, a line he molded, challenged, and unleashed at precisely the right moments. But his influence extended well beyond championships and trophies. Clemson's player development pipeline grew stronger because of him. NFL scouts trusted Clemson defenders because they trusted the preparation Venables instilled. When a player came out of Clemson's defense, scouts knew he had been trained in a complex, high IQ system that required communication, adaptability, and discipline. It made Clemson a destination, not just for recruits seeking exposure, but for young men seeking transformation. When Venables eventually departed Clemson to take the head coaching job at Oklahoma, it was an emotional moment not just for the fans, but for the Clemson family that had grown accustomed to his presence. It wasn't just losing a coach, it was losing a foundational pillar of an era. His departure marked the end of a spectacular chapter, but what he built could not be undone. The toughness, the identity, the elevated expectations, those remained. Clemson football would forever bear the fingerprints of Brent Venables. The legacy he left behind at Clemson is woven through the stories of the players who credit him for reshaping their approach to life and competition. Some speak of how he taught them to study film as if their careers depended on it. Some remember how he pulled them aside during moments of frustration, reminding them that adversity is the greatest teacher. Others recall how he celebrated their successes not with excessive praise, but with a grounded pride that helped them stay focused. He was demanding, but he was fair. He was tough, but he was loving. And he was relentless, but he was human. Clemson fans understood this better than anyone. They felt his energy, his passion, his commitment to excellence. They saw the transformation of a defense that became one of the best in the nation year after year. They knew that even during the times when Clemson faced difficult matchups or growing pains, Venables would adjust, adapt, and rebuild with a sense of urgency that simply would not allow the program to drift. His work ethic became a symbol of Clemson's culture of belief. And even today, long after his departure, his name still carries weight among the Clemson faithful. He is spoken about with reverence not because he was perfect, but because he was foundational. He took Clemson from being a program trying to climb into the spotlight to a program that owned the spotlight. And he did so with humility, loyalty, and intensity that elevated everyone around him. It is rare for an assistant coach to become as beloved, respected, and legendary as a head coach. But Venables did it. He became an icon, not because he sought the spotlight, but because he sought greatness in every detail. Clemson's championships were built on the backs of many individuals, but the defensive backbone, the toughness, the edge, the culture of preparation, came largely from Venables. And that will never be forgotten. Years from now, when fans look back on Clemson's era of dominance, they will still see Venables on that sideline, crouched and focused, communicating with intensity, commanding his defense like a conductor guiding a masterpiece. His legacy will not fade because it was built on something stronger than moments. It was built on identity. And identity lasts. Whether you watched every game, whether you were part of the electric crowds in Death Valley, or whether you simply recognized what Clemson became on the national stage, the truth remains the same. Brent Venables helped sculpt one of the most respected and feared defenses in college football history. His impact on Clemson isn't just part of the program's story. It is a defining chapter that future generations will look to with awe, gratitude, and appreciation. His relationship with Clemson never truly ended. It simply transformed. He is forever part of the family, forever part of the legacy, forever a symbol of what happens when discipline meets heart, when passion meets consistency, when belief meets preparation. And Clemson fans will always know, a part of their golden era was built by a man who gave everything he had to the players who trusted him, the coaches who stood beside him, and the program that embraced him. Brent Venables' time at Clemson was a masterclass in leadership, a testament to the power of preparation, and a reminder that greatness is built long before game day ever arrives. It lives in the small moments. The early morning film sessions, the late-night corrections, the tough conversations, the lessons about character, the standard that never dips. Clemson rose because it finally believed it could, and Venables helped teach it how. His legacy will continue to inspire players, coaches, and fans for generations. And as the years pass, the gratitude for what he brought to that field, that locker room, that community, and that culture will only deepen. Thank you, Brent Venables. You helped build something unforgettable. And now, to everyone watching, everyone listening, everyone who continues to support these stories and celebrate the people who shape the game, thank you for being here. Your passion keeps these legacies alive. If you enjoyed this tribute, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so more fans can join us as we honor the figures who left their mark on the sport we love.